learning to say no to a client or a potential client. Because within our businesses, a lot of times we think we got to say yes. And that was me for a long time as well. I thought I had to find a reason to say yes. And I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy, but the reality of it is now when our phone rings, we try to find, and I know y'all going to think I'm crazy when I say this, but we try to find a reason why the customer doesn't fit the profile that we're looking for. Because the most expensive thing that we do as an industry is bid the job. Is quote the job. The time it takes to put that proposal together for somebody. And you think, well, Wayne, it's just mowing, or it's just spraying, or it's just aeration, or it's just overseeding, Well, yeah, it may seem like it's just that. But one of the most expensive things we do is the proposal for the customer. So we got to make sure before we spend the time to go see the property or meet with the client is know that the client fits the profile of the client that you're looking for. And I hope that makes sense. Now, from a selling perspective, you might say, well, yeah, maybe they don't fit my mowing profile, but they fit my fertilization weed control profile. All right, that's fine. Or they fit my landscaping profile, or they fit my full service profile. The key is that you're looking at it from the standpoint of, quite simply, what makes sense about this customer that fits our customer profile, and that you know what that customer profile is for your company. Because too many times, especially when we just get started, we're trying to make the answer yes when the answer should be no. It took me too long to remember and understand that sometimes the most profitable thing I did with a customer was say no. I don't know if any of you guys have had a similar situation like that. But for me, I was always about trying to figure out how to say yes than to figure out that the best answer is no. Do you know what your capacity is for your company? If you're spraying lawns, what's the square footage that you want to try to knock out in a day? Or what's the number of customer stops you want to try to knock out in a day? Or from a mowing perspective, or, what's that capacity? And are you booking work to 100% capacity? And if you are, that in itself is a mistake. Or that's my 2 cents worth on it. Anytime we try to reach 100% capacity on what we've got, we're positioning ourselves, and I want to say this the right way. I think we got to look at how we position our companies, and do we want to really go out and try to sell 100% capacity of 100% of time? Or do we want to leave some time there for a day like today that we're having in Louisville, Kentucky, where we're having a rain day for most of the day, it looks like? I briefly talked about it when I came on, about how days after a rain day, we seem to kick it into a little bit higher gear and get a little more work done. And that's okay. But let's don't count on having to run that thing in that high gear all the time. Because what happens is when you get yourself overbooked, and I see this with companies all the time that I work with and talk to, they get themselves overbooked, and then when they get behind, it gets really, really frustrating. Not just to the owner or the manager, but to the crews. When you know, look, man, we're not going to catch up this week. Now, there might be days or weeks where, hey, man, you get a couple days of rain and it takes you a little bit to get caught up and you finally get caught up. But what we have to look at that often is overlooked is what type of capacity do we want? Where is that workload scheduled? Is it scheduled early in the week, late in the week? Because if we flip-flop that schedule around, that gives us later in the week to get caught back up. And that's where a lot of times a lot of mowing contractors have got that workload scheduled really heavy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, let's say. But then when you get a Wednesday or a Thursday of rain, okay, now we're rolling over into Saturday, and a lot of people may not want you on their lawns on Saturday morning. And I remember when I was mowing, I didn't want to be on residential lawns on Saturday morning in most cases because, everybody's home, the kids are more there, they're out in the yards, it was just a little bit more of a pain in the butt is what it amounts to. So we got to think about that. So let's think about today, that one of the takeaways from today's show is going to be, have you thought about capacity? And where are you scheduling and how much are you scheduling? And whether you're a one-truck operation or one-man operation or a multi-crew company, we got to think about knowing when to say when.